Welcome back to the Visually Hidden Selects podcast, episode 57. This month's selection was Ferris Bueller's Day Off from 1986. 40 years old. Holy cow. I don't even know where to begin with this one, you know? It's just there's so much. So much to do in so little time. It's incredible. I guess maybe we should just start with John Hughes. This is the second John Hughes film that we've talked about in this series. The first one was The Breakfast Club, and if you missed that episode, go back and check it out. If you have not seen The Breakfast Club, go check out the VHS episode where I present it, and then watch the movie, listen to the podcast. But John Hughes is one of those filmmakers that is so kind of underrated and overlooked, and he only made a handful of films as a director. You know, I think he made 8 films, and 4 of them are about high school, and 4 of them are about like adults and adult problems. He wrote a ton of movies, including the Vacation series, less European Vacation and Vegas Vacation, but he's the one who created the Griswold family and the whole concept of the Vacation franchise. Mr. Mom is another one. He wrote Home Alone, 1 and 2. And then in the 90s, he really just kind of stuck to writing because his experience with directing and being a filmmaker, especially through the 80s, kind of burned him out and like disenchanted him with the whole process of filmmaking. So he just kind of stuck to writing. But he also wrote Pretty in Pink and Some Kind of Wonderful, which are kind of inversions of each other. I personally prefer the latter, but that's another conversation for another time. But yeah, John Hughes, incredible writer, incredible underrated director in my opinion. I was super sad when he passed away. Like I was like, oh no, because he was only 59.
Yeah.
He was walking down the street. Like he was vacationing in New York, walking down along Central Park, and he just drops dead, 59 years old. It was like such a loss.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that, and it was like, what? That can't be right. And it was just out of left field and just weird.
Yeah, I don't know much about this guy, but as you said, we already talked about the Breakfast Club, and it's crazy to think that this guy, he marked a generation with such movies, and I'm pretty sure we said that for the Breakfast Club, but he wrote it in 6 days. This one, the Ferris Bueller'S Days Off, just in 6 days, and I think he did the same for the Breakfast Club. No, something like that. It was quite short. No.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He was notorious for like just cranking out scripts like over a weekend. He would just sit and just knock them out, and then. But that's the other thing, you know. He would crank out these scripts, and so, yeah, you get a lot of material, you get a lot of movies. Sometimes you get some similarities, like 16 Candles is kind of similar to Pretty in Pink, which is very similar to Some Kind of Wonderful, although those are intentional. But, you have this like kind of love triangle dynamic that is present in a lot of his films. The other thing, though, that's really kind of fascinating about him is, yes, he's a writer, but as a director, he kind of wears a separate hat. And I think we talked about this when we talked about The Breakfast Club, too, is like he's open to collaboration with his actors and performers. He wants them to bring stuff to the film, bring stuff to their characters, and improvise, because I think he knew, yeah, okay, it's cool, I wrote it. It's not perfect, and let's see if we could make it better. He was open to that idea, whereas like there are some writer-directors with the initials Q and T that, think like they're the fucking hand of God that chiseled it into the stone. Like, that's it. That's how it is. And that's how it will, so let it be written, so let it be done, to throw back to last month, And there's no room for improvisation, even with like the pauses and the beats and the breaths that you take, And so I think John Hughes, as a writer, is one kind of animal. As a director is another kind of animal. And either way, they're both like just these like beautiful beasts that exists in like the cinematic like landscape.
And what you just said, that the fact that he lets the actors improvising, it's even more impressive that the fact that when he writes stuff, they're really linked to what he lived in his life. And apparently in this one, the room, Ferris room, is exactly the room he had as a teenager. And I think the high school was the one he was in too. So it's really related to his life, but he let the team working with him to create something with him. It's not just narcissistic.
I think that's also just a really kind of like beautiful attribute about his character as a person, but then it comes through in his characters. They're like Ferris Bueller, for example. Like, he's Mr. Popularity, right? Everybody knows Ferris, everybody loves Ferris, he's the guy. Like, I think there's somebody you should talk to. If you say Ferris Bueller, you lose a testicle, like he's just somebody that everybody can relate to. And so I think John Hughes as a filmmaker and as a writer had some of that going for him. And so he was able to infuse it into his characters.
Yeah, and the fact that Ferris is so perfect, it could have been so boring. And I think the fact that he talks to us directly, to the audience, it really creates a complicity that makes him more lovable, you know what I'm saying? So it's a feat to do that in the writing. So
yeah, I remember watching this movie as a kid and just thinking like, because when you're a kid, I'm talking like a young kid, like 4, 5, 6 years old, and Ferris Bueller is talking to me. Like, I don't know about the audience in the movie theater. I didn't see it in the movie theater. I saw it on television and on video. So Ferris Bueller was talking to me in my house, and like explaining this stuff. And I had older brothers and I have an older brother and older sister, and they were in high school in the late 80s. So I kind of knew some of these characters and some of these kids because it was the style at the time. It was the music at the time, like that was the world that I was in. So for him to be talking to me, it was kind of like, an older sibling connection where like, oh, wow. And so to have that as a relationship with a character in a movie is also very unique, because we've watched movies with narrators before, and I experienced them as a kid, but it's different when you're breaking that fourth wall. Mm-hmm. When you're looking in the camera and you're talking directly to the audience, it just creates a better, stronger connection and just in a weird way, a sense of trust.
I was in love with Sloane Peterson as a kid. Still am. I mean, gorgeous, bubbly, fun. I mean, my high school quote in my yearbook was "Life moves pretty fast." I love this movie. I've been showing this movie to people for years, and now my kids in turn love the movie, and they quote the movie and they'll say the lines along with me as we watch it. But this is like one of those films. Yeah, it's been with me my entire life. I'll never stop watching it. In my opinion, I think it's John Hughes' masterpiece. I don't think it gets any better than this. I know people usually go to The Breakfast Club, and I can appreciate that because I think it's a great movie. And I really enjoy that movie. But for me, this one is his masterpiece.
I just know the Breakfast Club and this one, but I agree that I do prefer this one. And I think that with The Breakfast Club, you relate to your teenage years. And this one, because it's the first time I'm watching it, so I'm, as an adult, you can relate to either the teenage characters to the adult characters. So you have an opinion on each character that really speaks to you. So that's really the fact that I really love this movie is more multiple dimensions to understand it. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned it in the VHS, like this one, he really kind of just perfected that combination of all those elements, like 16 Candles is really kind of comedy. Breakfast Club is very dramatic. Weird Science is just goofball, and here he just brings everything together like perfectly. And while I love The Breakfast Club, I don't know that I could honestly say I prefer either. But when I think about John Hughes, I think my mind automatically goes to The Breakfast Club because I probably saw that one first, and that's where my foundation with him is. But Ferris Bueller, he's right up there. It's like 1A and 1B, you know? It depends on what you want to get out of the experience. And I feel like the writing in The Breakfast Club is really, really strong, and that's what drives that movie. And in this one, I feel like it's the character, you know, and the situation is really strong, and that's what drives the movie. And I also mentioned in the VHS, you know, how this is, it's Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but it's all for Cameron, you know. And I was curious what you guys thought about that idea, because it's not, you know, blatant, but I feel like, this is really Cameron's day off too, you know, and the whole reason Ferris is doing this is for Cameron.
As a kid, Ferris Bueller was the coolest thing in the world. Like Sam Malone, the Fonz, Ferris Bueller, the coolest guys in the room. And you have a great time going on this adventure with him. He's teaching you how to fake being sick with the lists on the screen. Yeah, that was awesome. You see him setting up the string with the trophy to, you know, get the mannequin animated for later on in the film. And it's fun. It's fun. It's lighthearted. You know, there's a lot of comedy, some slapstick in it, good stuff in it. And I never really picked up on some of the undertones of the deeper stuff that's going on. And it comes with age, you know, and multiple viewings. And we've talked about this before, where we are in our lives when we see these things. So growing up with Ferris, he was always it's a fun loving adventure. And, you know, Rooney's going to go on his side quest and all this other stuff. But you knew that there was a problem with Cameron and his dad, and he was unhappy and whatever. But that's like, as a kid, you're like, okay, he's, you know, his dad's like, you know, not cool. Okay, whatever. But then you get this appreciation for it. And I had said this to another friend of mine like a year or two ago. Said that the movie's really about Cameron. First frame, we see Ferris, he's sick. Now, on a first viewing, we don't know that he's faking it. He's a kid sick in bed. And his parents are surrounding him with all this love and compassion. And, you know, what can we do for you? You know, and then
we
Jeannie's
understand
like,
pretty soon that he's faking.
Yes. Yeah. But then Jeannie's like, oh, what's this? What's his problem? You know, like there's the antagonist, right? But then as an adult, he reveals that like they bought it, and you know, it's been a ruse and whatever, and like, oh, that's so cool, and it gets you excited. But then as an adult, when you first time you see Cameron laying there in bed, sick, or a hypochondriac, or you know, he's manifesting these ailments, surrounded by nobody.
Yeah.
Right. His mom's in Decatur, but unfortunately she's not staying. Mm-hmm. And his dad, he's got a massive beef with, like, eternally. He has no support system. He has nobody there. And I think Ferris loves him so much that he wants to free him from this self-imposed, to a degree, prison that he's in, of this like suffering and this loathing and this unhappiness. And it's his father's fault to a degree also. There's a joint thing in there, but you know, Cameron says it later on in the film. I'm tired of being afraid. I'm tired of, you know, taking his crap, and got to make a stand for myself. And Ferris is giving him what Ferris gets in spades. Like Ferris will say, you know, I got, you know, she got a car, I got a computer. How's that for being born under a bad sign? But he has that love from his family.
You know what's really interesting though? I'm glad you mentioned that. It's so subtle in the movie, but near the end when Jeannie and the mom are driving home from the police station, and she says, I was going to take the commission from the Vermont people and I was going to buy Ferris a car. Right? And so if Ferris didn't skip school to help Cameron, his mother, Jeannie, wouldn't have gone home to try to bust him and get arrested. And then she would have been able to close the deal on the Vermont people and buy Ferris a car. So the whole movie, we hear Ferris saying, you know, I still have to bum rides off people. I don't have a car, blah, blah, blah. The one thing he wants, he could have had if he had gone to school that day.
Yeah.
But he didn't, because he had to help Cameron.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of a beautiful little nugget in there that you only get from like repeat viewings, and you only get from like discussing it and looking at it again. And that's one thing that I think this movie really has a very high rewatchable value, because it is so entertaining and the characters are so great, and then it just takes you on this adventure.
One thing that always stuck out to me, and it spoke to me as a kid, and I didn't understand why it stirred emotions with me. I couldn't pinpoint what it was, but when they're in the museum and the orchestration of the Smiths song is playing, it would always get me like almost teary. Like, I don't know why this is happening to me, but like, it is, and every time that part came on, I was always like zeroed in. I loved that part of the movie. I loved the song, and then I tracked the song down as I got older. I bought the Smiths album and all that stuff. The undertones of like when you're watching it, the underpinnings of there's more emotionality in this movie, so when you're a kid, the museum stuff spoke to me. Didn't know why, but there's an emptiness in Cameron. He's staring at that painting, and he's staring at the mother and the child, and and that's, you don't know that as like a 7-year-old, like, he's like, oh, he likes this painting, or it's making him sad for some reason, but you don't quite get it until you get older.
Yeah, and in the editing too, the facelessness of that kid, and then how it cuts back and forth between Cameron, and he's like transfixed. It's like, that's me. I don't have an identity. Like I'm a child with a parent, but I'm nothing. I'm pixels. I'm dots.
Yeah, and it's like there's breadcrumbs are throughout, and like I said, when he, Ferris will firmly say, he's worried about not seeing Sloane and not seeing Cameron, but he's not too worried about it. Where I think with Cameron, when he reveals during the parade sequence that he doesn't know what he's going to do with his life, it's more dire for him. Like, and it's almost like, what am I going to do without Ferris? Like what's going to happen to me? I don't, because he could do anything and it works for him. So it's like that, so as a kid, you're like, oh, look, he's on the parade float and he's singing and dancing. That's awesome. But then there's all this weighted important stuff that you pick up on as you get older. So there's those breadcrumbs, like the museum stuff, the parade stuff. There's all these little things throughout the movie.
It's interesting that you brought up those two sequences, the parade and the museum, because actually I was watching a thing with the editor. The editor of this film is Paul Hirsch. He's one of the editors for Star Wars, so he kind of knows what he's doing. He's also edited other John Hughes films, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles and whatnot, but he was talking about how when they first assembled the movie and showed it, it didn't get a really good reaction. And they took it back and they looked at it and they realized that the museum sequence was the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And now, if they move it in front of the parade is the end of the day. That's the climax. You're not going to get any better than the parade. That's it. And so it was partially, through that experience of test audiences, but also just being a good editor and realizing, like, no, this sequence works. The museum sequence is important. It's saying something important. How can we retain it and have it be more impactful? And we got to move it because the climax is before it. After the parade, everybody's ready to go home, So we just got to take that poignant moment, reverse it, flip it, and then it leads into that parade like so beautifully with everything Cameron says while he's walking with Sloane. It's like, because you have that scene where he's looking at the painting and then it just ramps up from there.
Yeah, it's that's a great call and decision on his behalf to move that, because man, if that was lost, if they cut that, that'd be tragic.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure people were hating the museum sequence, and John Hughes was like, no, the museum sequence is important, and I think they also changed the music.
Yeah,
which really just ties it together and makes it a standout moment.
I wanted to talk about the music, so that's a good moment to say so, because it was an important thing also in the Breakfast Club, right? The music at the end was really impactful, but here all along the film you have originality in the film through the music. And there is really a moment that make me laugh is the Star Wars music when the guy they're in the car. It's so funny. But yeah, I think in many years what I'm gonna remember from this film is the twist and shout moments in the parade, because it's full of energy, useful energy, and it really helps the story to go through, and especially to understand Ferris' personality through the music. You really get it. So music is something in this film.
Yeah, and the twist and shout scene is really kind of magical as well. Like even watching it on TV as a kid for the first time, it's like, I want to go to a parade. That looks amazing. Yeah. Everybody's dancing. It's all choreographed like fucking Thriller, These people just come sliding and walking down the stairs like, holy shit, Like guys are like, the window washers are twisting, Like that's such a like magical moment that could only like feasibly exist in this story with this character, Like that's the world he's living in, where it's like, yeah, let's just have a party for, a few minutes. Everybody just take 5, Even his dad up in his office, when he's dancing, it's like, I love all the close calls with the dad throughout the day, at the restaurant, in the cab, at the parade, in the office, and then even running home. It's like, it's just, it's magical. But the music in this film really is like, wow. And I mentioned how they never did a proper soundtrack. Yeah, because John Hughes felt that it didn't work, and it's like, that really is. I said it before, and I'll say it again. Probably the only mistake the man ever made.
Yeah. Like it's really different music together, so that's why he thought it's not gonna work on a CD. But
yeah. But at the same time, if the movie works because of it, then it's gonna bring people back to those moments. Like I think my favorite song in the whole movie is Beat City by the Flower Pot Men, when they're going into the city for the first time after they get Sloan and they're in the Ferrari driving away from the school, and like the drums just kick in, and it's just like, what an amazing sequence. It's brilliant. It's fantastic. It's edited so well. It has such energy, and it introduces the city of Chicago as that other abstract character. It's like, it's going beyond the setting right now, because we know we're in Illinois and we know we're in the suburbs of Chicago, but when we get to the city, it's like live. And the energy that just is kicked in between the Ferrari just tearing ass down the road, the kids in the Ferrari, and even when like Ferris like turns and talks to Cameron, and Cameron like slaps him on the head, like, keep your hands on the wheel, all that dynamic. It's just, the music is like life in this movie, and that's my favorite.
And there's also, I don't know how to call it, I would say the special agent music that you have for Rooney when he's investigating. It's so funny for me. It make me think of Home Alone. It's a bit the kind of energy. I really liked it too.
Yeah, well, I love in the beginning when he says, how could I possibly be expected to handle school on a day like this? And you got that beautiful shot of just a clear blue sky. And that music kicks in. It's like, gets you energized. It gets you going. Well, that's a great musical cue.
One of the first things you see is like the MTV logo, right? And like this is like the MTV generation in a movie, And every single scene pretty much has Ferris. He's playing the clarinet. He's playing his keyboard with the 6 sounds. He's dancing to "I Dream of Jeannie." He has his radio with him when he's out on the by the pool, talking to Cameron on the phone. And then later, like, music is a constant in the story and in the character. And it really comes through in like a very fantastic way. And that's, again, why it's like, how could there not be a soundtrack for this movie? Because it's driven literally by music, and even the editing, incorporates it so well. Like when Rooney's walking around like the detective, or the Star Wars music, it's so much a part of it.
Even the score pieces from Ira Newborn. You know, when he gets back into bed and they play that slow, calming music, and it's just perfect. It's just like so complimentary, and it works so well.
And yeah, because there are montages as well. Like when he's running home, there's that montage just set to the music, or even in the beginning, the montage of him talking about how you get sick or pretend to be sick, like, and the montage is really just a music video. When you get down to it, like that's what music videos are. They are montages set to this tempo.
But I don't know if you felt that way, but I felt kind of a different energy between the scenes. Like in the school, I felt it was quite static. The shots were quite static, and for the rest of the scenes, especially with Cameron, Ferris, and Sloane, it's more fluid, more energetic, and even brighter in terms of light. So I don't know if you felt that way or it's just me.
No. The school definitely has a sterile like quality to it, and I think that's part of it. There's a different energy that's present in the school, and I think it's very intentional. It's very deliberate on John Hughes's part as the director. I think I mentioned it in the VHS video, but Ben Stein as the economics teacher, the boring teacher. And all you need to do is look at the students in his class to understand, Ferris's motivation. And just imagine, what would that class be like if Ferris was in it? Yeah. It probably wouldn't be all that different, even with his, big personality and character, because it's the fluorescent lights, it's the white floors and the concrete cinder block walls, and it's just such a sterile, like, institutional environment. And when you get into Ferris's room, it's posters, it's, all these knickknacks and things and equipment and instruments and stuff like that. And then as you go out into the world and into the city of Chicago, it's baseball games and museums and, just French restaurants. Like it's amazing. So, and none of those other places resemble anything like this school.
Just the attendance, Ben Stein and the attendants. Anderson, here! He's like so angry. Like you even called his name, but all that stuff just... the guys drooling on the desk. It just, man, I mean, I remember those days. Like you watch this and you're like, when you're a kid, you're like, oh, is that what high school is really like? And then you get there, it's like, yeah, kind of. It's just kind of it, man. It's kind of true form.
Those scenes might as well be a documentary. I gotta say, we talked about Cameron a little bit before, and I want to just, give a shout out to Alan Ruck, who played Cameron. He was 29 years old when he played Cameron, and I said it, I'm gonna say it again. That's a theme here. That's a theme of Ferris, and it's a theme of this podcast. It can't be said enough, like how great a job Alan Ruck did. I'm glad that Anthony Michael Hall passed, because we got Alan Ruck.
Yeah, man.
And I think he did it in a way that couldn't have been done otherwise. And so I was like, I always knew him as Cameron. He actually, he used to live around where I grew up, and he would come into the restaurant where I worked every now and then. But he's forever Cameron, Yeah. So even when I first saw him in Bad Boys as Carl, and when I saw him in Speed as the tourist.
Yeah, it's Cameron.
It's Cameron.
Yeah.
Sweet. Oh yeah, Cameron. And he was on a TV show. I think it was Just Shoot Me. No, it was the sitcom. Was it Just Shoot Me? He was in, or no, Spin City.
Yeah, Spin City.
He was in Spin City, and so it's like, oh, good for Cameron, hanging out with McFly.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
go get him.
He really gives an incredible performance in this movie.
It's amazing. It's amazing from when he's introduced in the bed to where he is at the end, realizing like it's going to be okay. I'm going I'm going to take a stand. Like,
He's healthy at the end. Like, he looks like he's on death's door when you first see him.
mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden even though he knows he's going to be in a world of trouble when his father gets home because of that car, he's got a smile on his face because he finally feels like, yeah, I'm going to be my own man, stand on my own 2 feet and take a stand. And it's just like, wow, that's a progression. That's a really nice character arc. But
he'll keep calling me. He'll keep calling me. Make me feel guilty.
This is ridiculous.
I'll go.
Shit. Yeah. But that, just him being Cameron, but then the voices he's doing as
when
George
he's Sloane's
Peterson.
father.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then just that water noise that I don't know how he does that. For years, I'm like, how do you do that? But he's so, like, all these little things. And then he's really funny. And then he has that really great monologue at the end, and you buy it. And it's really emotional. And it's like,
it's amazing.
Yeah. It's like, even I watched it again this morning for, not that I needed to. But when he starts to go off, kicking the car, and Sloane goes to stop him, and Ferris just holds him. He's like, no, he's like, this is what needs to happen. He needs to let it out, finally.
Yeah. And,
it's powerful stuff. It's really, really good stuff. Alan Ruck, is MVP of this movie. He's really so good.
I don't understand really why we have Sloane in the story, because for me she's a little bit like Cameron, but we don't know much about her. And she doesn't bring much, in my opinion. Maybe she's more balanced in her emotions than the two guys, but I don't know. I didn't get the character. I mean, what's the point with her? Because especially when she has the discussion with Cameron about what they're gonna do after, I thought we're gonna know more about her and what the point with her, but no. It's more about Cameron.
I think she's primarily there to, I guess, broaden the appeal of not only the film but of the day. Yeah, like she's there as kind of a confidant for Cameron. Like, let's look at it as, it's Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but it's really it's in service of Cameron. The whole film, the whole story is engineered and designed to be about saving Cameron. Right? It's not save Ferris, it's save Cameron. So she's there to broaden the appeal and, I guess, dynamic for the two of them, but also for the audience, because if it was just the two of them running around doing stuff, you're going to lose half the audience. Mm-hmm. It's just going to get boring. It's going to get stale quick. Sloane interjects a sense of romance, a sense of beauty, and a sense of compassion into the story, and also kind of helps heighten some of the hijinks, like when she calls the restaurant and she asks for, Abe Frillman, and when she takes the place in the back of the taxi cab, when the dad looks over, like, she's part of the crew and she serves a functional purpose. It's just not as significant because it's Ferris Bueller's Day Off and it's in service of Cameron. So I think that's how I rationalize it, and reconcile it.
Yeah.
I do agree that there could be more to her and more with her. Like, they could have done more.
Jeannie is definitely the stronger female character, for sure. And I think she becomes... It's so funny because she envies Ferris, but her envy comes out adversarially. And Cameron's just comes out as, man, I wish I had that. Like when they're picking up Sloane.
It's like admiration and jealousy.
Mm-hmm. And then Rooney's out there with Sloane waiting to be picked up. And then Jeannie sees that he's getting her out of school too. Like, this guy. And she's so angry the whole movie. Until she meets the one and only Charlie Sheen, and he kind of mellows her out a bit.
Well, we'll circle back to Charlie Sheen in a minute here. We're on Jennifer Grey right now. But yeah, like, imagine how different their relationship would be if he got her out of school. And they went and had a great day, right? And I think that's part of it. It's definitely it's not it's sibling rivalry, but it's jealousy, and that's what Charlie Sheen kind of points out to her. Is like, you gotta stop worrying about your brother and, think about yourself. Like, it's like that wisdom coming from that guy at that moment in the story, in that setting, in the police station, it's like, holy shit, that is like brilliant on so many levels. It's like I can't even fathom that. Like you couldn't make that shit up.
Right. And just like you had
and he
pointed
did.
out, yeah. But just like you pointed out earlier, had Ferris not cut school, he might have got that car. Well, if she hadn't cut school to try to, catch him cutting school, she wouldn't have got arrested. So it's almost like a rock bottom for her in a way. It's like, look where you are now. You're in the police station. Your mom had to come pick you up when you're supposed to be in school. So, maybe stop worrying about your brother so much, like you said, and focus on you. And he's because he says, oh, so you're just mad because he cut school, but he doesn't get caught. Yeah. That's your problem. So the wise Charlie Sheen, puts her on to some knowledge.
Handing down life lessons from the couch in the police station in Shermer, Illinois. I just love him so much in this movie in particular. And this was like before anything really. I mean, this was before Platoon. This was before The Wraith. Like he came in on Jennifer Grey's recommendation to John Hughes, and he just crushes. And not necessarily the movie, but he definitely steals the third act for a period. He takes the ball and runs with it and gets it further down the line. But I remember I was reading somewhere that his character does actually have a name. I forget what it is. I think it's like Garth something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and he was actually really good friends with Ferris, and because of Garth's home life, he went down south, and that's why Cameron is so important to Ferris. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want to lose him the way he lost Garth. And so for him to come back around and then like have that Ferris Bueller wisdom to give back to Jeannie, it's like a full circle kind of a thing. So it's interesting, but yeah, then you're going to have a 4-hour movie that, is probably not going to be as good as the 100-minute movie.
Yeah. And when you think about all Jeannie's choices, like, aren't they expect you in home ec? Probably. Like, she's not going to any class. She's threatening people. She slaps that can. The guy collecting the money for the kidney transplant, she slaps the can out of his hand. So she's doing all these things. And
I'm sorry, you should be.
You should be. Yeah, but so Jeannie does all these things against her best interests, and it takes, like I said, going to the police station to kind of scare her straight, I guess. But one thing I was bummed about as a kid, is that Rooney catches Ferris at the end. I was like, oh fuck, because like he's my hero. I want him to, he's perfect. He gets away with everything. Everything works out for Ferris. And I was like, oh fuck, he gets caught. But then I realized as I got older and matured, it still works out for him because Jeannie comes to his rescue. You know what I mean? Like so even when he's technically caught, it still works out for this guy, where his sister, who can't stand him, decides, I'm going to help him out.
See, I really like that part too, and it never really bothered me as a kid because I like that you have that moment where, it could go one way or the other, and Jeannie's in there like relishing it, like she finally she gets her little taste, and then she gets to come through because of the revelation that she had from Charlie Sheen, like you get to, like, the whole movie, you don't want to hate Jeannie, but she is kind of like the bratty sister. And then in that moment, like, she comes through and it's like, Jeannie's all right. So when you go and watch it again, you have more sympathy for Jeannie. It's like, oh no, she's just got to work through some stuff, and she's gonna come through in the end, and their relationship's gonna be different moving forward. You would think and you would hope.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I really like that little element. It's kind of like a little twist. It's like, oh, he's caught. No, he's not.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it's just interesting that, like, he has, perceivably Ferris has everything you could ever want as a kid or as a teen. But the car, he doesn't have the car, and Jeannie has that. And it's just like, all she focuses on is the things she doesn't have. Where Ferris doesn't, he acknowledges the fact he doesn't have the car, but he doesn't let it rule him. You know, it's just like, all right, it's whatever it is.
And that was the thing that I mentioned in the VHS was about, you know, the whole like kind of subtext of the film is the value system that people have. You know, everybody pretty much has it except for maybe Cameron. You know, he's the one who just has like this like void in his life. But yeah, everybody's ruled by their value system. Ferris with the car, the father, Cameron's father with the car, Rooney with attendance, the sister with, you know, Ferris's freedom. Like it's really kind of an interesting, like, just subtext in this story. And the fact that it is so 80s, you know, like, it's like the definition of, like, it's like the peak of the 80s, you know, in this movie. And the 80s is notorious for being a very materialistic decade, you know, like right down to Madonna, the material girl, you know, like writing the anthem for the fucking decades. Like, you know, it's really kind of, I don't know. What do you guys make of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a sign of the times. You know, 80s was you know, what became about excess, you know, as personified, you know, greatly in Wall Street with Michael Douglas. But yeah, that's what it, you know, it was, everything was in excess, you know, and I think that's those tones are in there, not as severe as something like that or Bright Lights Big City, but it's there, it's totally there, you know what I mean? Or just on a smaller scale, a more after school special, I guess, maybe type of way, not so severe and so brash in your face. But even as we're having this conversation, you think about, you know, Rooney starts out talking on the phone with Katie Bueller, and he has a little speck of dirt on his desk, and he puts it on his finger and gets it off. And by the end of the movie, he's ruined. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so he starts off like everything's meticulous. His whiteouts are lined up equally, facing the same direction. And because he tries to pursue the white whale, in this case being Ferris, it leads him to ruin. You know, almost like Genie.
He's an anal retentive, like, stickler, and it just blows up in his face. Literally bites him in the ass.
Yeah. Oh, my favorite scene of this film is with him. You know, when he tries to enter from the dog door, and he gets facing the Rottweiler. Oh my God, so funny.
And what about when the Ferrari goes out the window?
Oh wow, you don't expect that. You feel so sorry for this poor guy.
His face.
Oh yeah, it's like the end of the world for him.
And the again with the editing, like they got that great pullback as it goes, like the car's point of view on Cameron, just like watching it, like you know, and then the crash through the window and the arc of it, and then the reveal of it, like smoking and like just like
wheel spinning,
you know, crushed into the ground. It's like, oh man,
yeah, like
talk about an ending, you know.
Can't wait to see the look on the bastard's face. And then it's like 2 seconds later.
Yeah, but like prior to that, you have all this stuff building, you know, like Cameron's monologue, and before that, just the catatonic episode, and then the pool and everything, like everything, you know, after the parade and after the whole day at the ball game and the stock exchange and everything, like all building, and then the way they've introduced the car. And the way they've treated the car up to that point, to see that happen, like it's still like takes your breath away when you're watching it. Even if you've seen it like a million times, it's like, fuck.
Yeah, you're right. It's never not impactful.
And the fact that we don't see Cameron's father, it's really more impactful. I think it's super smart that they didn't cast someone for this role. Just talking about him, it makes him more a villain, you know what I'm saying?
And he's kind of almost personified by the car.
Yeah.
You know, and so when he goes out the window, it's like, whoa, something somewhere just like died.
Yeah.
Yeah, this I've ranked this movie with like I think we had said with Rushmore, you know, that magical movie you feel good at the end, like Max Fisher, Ferris Bueller. For me, they're rarefied air in my book, and I think this movie has such a magical feeling, a great innocence to it, even though there's some heavy stuff in it.
I think that's a thing that really kind of like sets it apart from other movies of the time and of the genre. It's like it does have a lot of fun, a lot of hijinks, a lot of comedy, but then there's all this like grown-up stuff that is hitting in a more resonant way than like in The Breakfast Club. Like sometimes The Breakfast Club will get like really heavy, and like that's, you know, like everybody can relate to those kids and those like situations. Like they have the brain and the basket case and the jock. They got all the cliques. Everybody's represented there. But with Ferris, it really takes it out of the kid's perspective and shows it in a world view and a world scope in a way, you know, like you get to see their home life. As you said, like Ferris has everything, and Cameron's like in a very sterile, he's got his Tesla coil going and his box of, you know, all his medicine. And he's just like, he's entombed, like literally, like he looks like a mummy in the beginning. And you just get to see where these kids are existing more so than The Breakfast Club, where it's more like the idea or their perception of it. That'll about do it for us here today at the Visually Hidden Selects podcast. We will be discussing a completely different film next time, so make sure you head over to our YouTube channel and subscribe so you don't miss any future selections. You can catch Steve Bendler over at Steve's Pop Culture Corner on Instagram. Ann and I, of course, are also on Instagram as well as Letterboxd, so you can follow us over there and find out what we've been watching and see what we think. And until next time, Rooney eats it.